Cool.
All right. Hey, everyone. Hope you're doing well. First off, thanks for coming. I'm very excited for this webinar. We got some badass people on this today, and I think you guys are going to learn a lot. Really more about innovative ways to drive more phone calls. And you're going to hear some good knowledge bombs from some of our panelists on here. So let me start. I am Anthony Paluzzi. I am the founder and the CEO of Palo. We're the authority in pay-per-call. We work with all kinds of publishers, all kinds of advertisers, and we're really just trying to deliver value day over day to pretty much all of our partners out there. Just to let you guys know, on this webinar, I'm going to be referred as Tony because there's a better Anthony on here. And that other Anthony is Anthony Sarandrea.
Not better. Worse looking.
All right. I mean, look at that. He's looking dapper in that photo. He is the founder and CEO of SiteFlood. He's also, I would call, a super pub, pretty much all around in pay-per-call. He's one of our partners. He's one of our pubs. And thanks for coming here, man. I really appreciate that.
Guys, I'm excited.
Yeah, and pretty much last but not least, Gene Morris, our host. He's one of Palo's affiliate specialists. He's the creator of Pay-Per-Call Blueprint, a badass course around learning pay-per-call. And he's also a four-figure-a-day publisher. Really just, he knows pay-per-call in and out from all angles. So, yeah, I'm going to let you guys take it away. Gene, why don't you get rocking, buddy?
Yeah, for sure. Again, I'm super excited to be here. It's been a kind of a long time coming, actually, to get to this point. And super happy to be here. Thanks, guys, for being on the call. Let me get over here. So anyway, I titled this, How to Make Pay-Per-Call Work on Facebook Without Giving Up or Going Broke, because that's happened to me. And it pisses me off, but I'm happy that we've kind of bridged a very significant gap in pay-per-call advertising. And we managed to make it work on Facebook. In fact, we have some publishers on Palo right now that are doing it. Anthony Sarandrea is one living example of that, which is why we have him on board, because he's going to fill in the gaps that I miss. So really the whole point of this call is to explain, what's working on Facebook, native, display, basically all of those those traffic sources that are not high intent, like Google, AdWords, click to call, and what's working now. So my goal is to kind of walk you through that process. It's a little bit of a broad spectrum, top level view, because there's a whole range of experience on this call with us today. There's probably a lot of new folks that are just getting started, and then there's like seasoned veterans that have been in the industry for a very long time. Also have lead gen pubs from Facebook here, and then future lead gen Facebook pubs. So I think you're going to get a wealth of information here, and if you stay tuned until the end, I'm going to show you how to get basically the system for free. That's really the whole pitch here, is to kind of show you what's working, why it works, and then how to get it without having to go broke yourself. Or footing the bill for a test. So again, what makes this different, this particular webinar, is that we're going to explain the high intent problem with click to call, and we're also going to explain how we solved the high intent problem with click to call. We're going to kind of dive into proven offers that work on Facebook, because there are some offers you just don't want to test on Facebook at all. They'd be a waste of time and money. And then there's some offers that make perfect sense, and so we kind of want to just highlight those. And then go into a couple of the things that make Facebook marketing work well in terms of brand building and funnels and stuff like that. So stick with us. This will be a good one. Right now, the three secrets, I'm using a little Russell Brunson approach here, the three secrets to making any marketing campaign work, especially pay-per-call. I'm going to talk to you on a top level view. The first one is going to be, Facebook friendly offers. We're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to get into good brand building and fun and just good sales funnel building. Anthony S., I'm going to kind of hope you can carry us through this a little bit. I have what I feel are good examples, but you can definitely chime in on this. And then finally, our bread and butter. This is the piece that's really making things work well, and it's intelligent SMS callback scheduling. As opposed to kind of like the dumb one-way approach, which comes off very spammy. So this is what we're going to dive into today. It's going to be about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Shouldn't take too long. Should be packed with some knowledge bombs. I think you'll be super excited when you kind of see how things work, and then hopefully identify where maybe you have failed in the past if you've done what I've done and you've kind of ran through the Facebook gauntlet and just got crushed. So with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about Facebook friendly offers. This is my favorite because this is where I come from. So I run behavioral health. I'm a kind of an addiction and mental health publisher. And when I got started with the addiction and so forth, the very first thing I did is I ran over to Facebook. I created a Facebook page, started spending money on traffic, trying to get traffic to my Facebook page, and I was hoping to engage them. And unfortunately, I had trouble. I had a lot of trouble. And really, this kind of the question is since I really can't see everybody's Q&A at the moment, kind of a rhetorical question, but if you were to look at the two here, one is for home alarm systems and the other one is for addiction recovery. Which one do you think would work best on Facebook? And if you chose alarm.com, you're probably choosing wisely. Not saying addictionrecovery.com is not doing a good, or isn't crushing it at Facebook. Maybe they are. But what I'm trying to carry through and get across to you guys is that alarm.com is, they're just basically a review site. They're fancy and they sell home security systems. And the reason why that would probably work better is because of the demographic targeting nature of Facebook. It's a lot easier to target somebody who's, say, like a new home buyer. And I apologize for the pixelated image here, but with Facebook, they have a lot of demographic targeting and it's very granular. So it's a lot easier to target people in a certain way as opposed to kind of like a broad spectrum offer, like legal is a good example, or addiction, right? Addiction can affect anybody, right? It could be the top 10% of the financial demographic. It could be the subprime. It could be anybody. It could be, and it's really hard to kind of focus in on that when you're targeting in Facebook. So as opposed to, like, say, finding a first-time home buyer, which is pretty easy to do with Facebook. So it makes sense that, well, first-time home buyer, they just invested in a new house. Well, hell yeah, they're going to try to put a Vivint smart home alarm system into their brand new asset, right? A lot easier. And that's kind of like the big takeaway. It's like when you start focusing in on Facebook, you just got to focus, you got to use the tools that they're giving you, and they're giving you some detailed targeting tools that allow you to dig in and find first-time home buyers, people that, are in a certain financial, they're in certain financial categories, right? So I apologize for this ugly slide, but things that I think would be easily targeted on Facebook would be things like health insurance, those non-urgent home services, things like solar, home alarm. Again, it comes back to like new home buyers and so forth. People under a certain age, people over a certain age, people that are interested in financial pages, people that are in between jobs that may be, here's a good example. You're 30 to 45 years old. You just landed a new job. Well, chances are you were unemployed for some period of time. You accumulated some debt. That would be somebody to target for like a debt relief offer, right? So the things to look for in a good Facebook offer would be something that's easily targeted using the demographic targeting that Facebook provides you. So don't go off and try to run something super broad and expect it to work. I'm not saying it won't work. The addiction example, to me, it probably works for them. It probably does. And they probably got tons of time and tons of money. You're looking at their chapter 10 as opposed to like our chapter 1. They've probably been spending tons of money building up that page to the point where it's actually making the money now. You don't necessarily need to go down that route. So with that being said, I think that's kind of like the biggest secret. And it's not really a secret. It's kind of like a marketing fundamental. Just choose a good offer that's congruent with your traffic source. And I feel that these are, like, for example, Palo offers that would make sense. The next thing, good brand and good funnel. So what I have on the left is a debt relief page, and what I have on the right is a debt relief page. I apologize in advance to anybody that's on the call that might own one of these pages. But big takeaway here is like, okay, if you were a consumer and you had credit repair problems or debt relief problems, and you stumbled upon an advertisement that came from one of these pages, like, which one would you trust more? And personally, I like the one on the left-hand side. It comes off more like an established nationwide brand that has their shit together, right? The one off to the right, they might convert, they might not, but to me, it just looks like a guy that probably ran a lot of native, you know, because he's got a lot of those kind of catchy images in his page, but it also looks like a fly-by-night marketer, right? So they're not really establishing a brand here. They're just trying to sell shit. They're just like sell, 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 sell. And you could also see it in their little review there. They got 2.3 stars out of 5. So not a lot of happy consumers there. And so the big takeaway with Facebook and your branding and your pages is got to come off like a real brand. You know, assume that your page is representing a legit company, and that's your company. And when we get to secret number 3, you'll see why having a legit brand is super important. You know, you got to think about this. And I was just at Traffic and Conversion Summit earlier this year. And one of the big things they were talking about is cost per conversation on Facebook. So instead of looking at your metrics as a cost per click or a cost per conversion or a cost per call, it's a conversation you're having. And the real important takeaway now, and these are what the big players are doing on Facebook, and Anthony can chime in on this too. It's about the journey. It's about establishing trust, you know, that first touch point with the lead, establishing trust, letting them know that you're legit, that you're going to be here today, you're going to be here tomorrow, and you're here to solve their problems, and you're not here to just take their money. Eventually, you know, you're going to convert them on an offer, but you got to think like long-term and from a brand building perspective. I think that's super important. And this is what everybody's doing, and they're doing it in very sophisticated ways now. They're starting to use like ManyChat bots and so forth to kind of start the conversation and then build on that conversation to kind of get that lead to convert. But think about it like this. It's just, you can't kind of be fly by night anymore. You really got to start focusing on like the long-term strategy here. Now I'm going to segue into like the third step, the third secret. And this is just a good question. It's kind of another rhetorical question though, but when was the last time you like called an offer after reading an article on Facebook? Probably never, right? I know I haven't. And this is the big problem with Facebook and native and display. And a lot of times, it's just the fact that people are not in a position to make a phone call. They might like your offer. They might trust your brand. But if you hit them with a phone number, like right off the bat, they may be sitting on the toilet. They may be in a board meeting on their phone, just kind of scrolling through Facebook. They may be on vacation or something, but 9 times out of 10, life is in the way. They cannot call you right now. So we need to have something smart.
Hey,
now,
Gene, I want to interrupt you real quick. I just wanted to let everyone know, if you have questions, there's a Q&A box at the bottom. I forgot to mention this. Drop them in now, and we're going to answer them all at the end. If you think of a question, drop it in there right now. You're going to, whatever you want. You got the pros on the line, so do it. It's right at the bottom. Just hover at the bottom. You'll see Q&A, and you're good. So that is it, my friends. Continue, Gene.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is the big one. This is like the bread and butter of Facebook and why things are working well right now. And you're probably thinking to yourself like, Gene, I already know about SMS marketing. I already know about SMS marketing, Gene. Yeah, there's 2 different types of SMS marketing though. There's like what I call smart SMS marketing, and then there's kind of like dumb SMS marketing. And the dumb stuff really comes off spammy, right? It becomes this kind of like one-way conversation where you just have like a bot just kind of like drip feeding messages. There's no interaction. Like Jane, for example, could try to like reply to that message and it just goes nowhere. And you just look bad, right? And that's what a lot of folks are using right now. And it kind of works, but also you look at duration rates, they're lower. You get a lot more complaints. People are just not happy. In fact, they're calling to like get them to stop sending them SMS messages. And that's not good. So what we're talking about here is a very sophisticated system that utilizes a combination of artificial intelligence, like a ManyChat kind of thing, and then real human interaction. So this is what you need. So if you can see yourself kind of like running campaigns on Facebook and you're like, okay, I get it. If you really want to make things work, you got to start looking at it from this perspective, you know? So a good example of this would be like, you know, a lead reads an article, they're interested, they click a link, it takes them to a kind of a lead form page. They fill out the lead form, and immediately or a few minutes later, they get a message. It's like, hey, hey Jane, is it a good time to talk about your quote? And Jane would be like, no, I'm on a call. Can we call after work? And the AI is going to kind of integrate and acknowledge that and go, yeah, for sure. But the big problem the big problem again is like when the chat bot decides to like make a call and Jane's like, how about we just do it now? This is where things fall apart for most people, right? It's like the bot's like, what did you just say? I don't understand that, I'm a bot. This is where you need the smart stuff. The smart stuff will see this and then pass it back to a live customer support representative. And the live customer support representative will take over the conversation. So you just went from like a seamless AI to human conversation without the lead even realizing it. And this is what you need. And all of a sudden now you have a human being that's doing some SMS back and forth, and then they're closing the call for you while you're sleeping in bed or off doing other things because you're a business owner. So this is what you need to get going. So it's really cool. And you're probably thinking to myself, oh, that sounds kind of sophisticated, Gene. I can't really do this on my own, Gene. What do you expect me to like have a call center doing warm transfers? Is this what you want me to do? And yes and no. First of all, can you imagine yourself like your business in Facebook and you're running traffic to a landing page, and then could you imagine yourself having like kind of a warm transfer call center off of the back of your business automatically? I mean, to me, that's awesome. I think that's great. I can see that. I'm like, man, this is bridging a huge gap for my business. So that's what Drips does. And you probably noticed Drips in the pictures I just showed you, but drips.com is a service that designs, integrates, and manages your SMS campaigns, just like I explained it. So the beauty of Drips is it's a software as a service you can take off. You guys can take off right now and go sign up if you wanted to, but you got to pay for it. It's expensive. The setup costs are manual, they're tedious, or the setup costs are expensive because it's a manual, tedious process. It requires a lot of human work to get the campaign up and running. And if you're not really interested in dabbling and paying the price, then chances are you might want to sign up. So anyway, Tony from Palo here came up with a great idea. He's like, you know what? I want my publishers running this, and I want to cover all the costs for them. I want to cover all the setup costs and just make it easy. I want them to focus on what they do best, and that's drive traffic. I want to provide them this amazing like drip system for just running our offers. And that's basically kind of what we're pitching to you guys right now. But before we get to like how to set up and how you can get started, I wanted to introduce to you guys Anthony Sandre, who's also on the call with us. Anthony is one of Palo's top publishers, and he's got accounts across a bunch of different call networks, and he generates tons of money across multiple places, and I'm sure he'll share a little bit of that with us. But anyway, he's got a really well-established brand on Facebook. He's running our call offers over there, and he's using this system, and he's doing a great job. And before I get into the nuts and bolts on like how the Drips thing works and how to get started with it and get you moving forward, I'm going to hand it over to Anthony. If that's cool. You cool with that, Anthony?
Yeah, definitely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Let me see how, let me stop sharing this, and then I will pass it over to you.
That works. First off, appreciate the warm intro, fellas. I've got a few questions on here. I can answer everybody's stuff, but I think the guys wanted me to show just pay-per-call network across the board. We do 50K plus a day just on pay-per-call offers, and a lot of that is through a lot of the stuff that Gene mentioned, whether it's offers that make sense where you can create demand for versus like a DUI lawyer. That was one of the questions on here too. What's the best offer for Facebook? So I'd say any vertical or any offer where you're able to create the demand is there's a high chance of working. What I mean by that again too is if it's situational, like someone just got in a car accident, they're looking for a personal injury lawyer or something like that, or there's got a DUI. Facebook's not going to be as great in my opinion because you're going to have to get in front of someone within a time frame. Where for us, like someone in debt, like they're in debt, they've been in debt, they may just not have taken action yet. So that becomes a really powerful opportunity to educate them on what's available out there, and then put them through a system. Like Gene mentioned, a lot of people on Facebook are scrolling on their leisure when it's late at night, where a call center might not be open, or they're going to the bathroom, like you said, or eating lunch or something. So to create a call to action to go from Facebook to a lander that makes them call now or get off the site essentially, doesn't quite make sense, or it's incongruent to, I guess, the platform in itself. So just when you look at Facebook as a platform as a whole and the usability of it, how people are using it, a system like Drips or any text message automation system like that becomes really powerful to schedule and get people back on the calls. I think that's where we've seen, or why we've seen such success on Facebook particularly, and we're on a number of different platforms, native, paid ads, anything else, but I know for today we'll focus specifically on Facebook. So wanted to touch on that a little bit too, and then Gene, jump in if there's anything specific you want me to dive into, but I can start going through kind of what our funnel looks like, what we do, anything like that. Would something like that be helpful to go through? I can run through.
Oh, for sure. Yes, please.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can start there just at a top level. So our goal when we launch a Facebook campaign is, and again, back to Gene's point, I think there's so much marketing noise out there today that you can't just get in front of someone with a sign and say, buy for me anymore, or have a salesman call you up and be like, buy for me. It takes dramatically more number of touches, education. People can find education and content and get their own answers to their own questions. So if you're not the one educating them, I firmly believe you're not going to be the one that's going to be able to ultimately make the sale to them. So that kind of approach is what we take through all of our funnels. We look at it as almost like a funnel cake where there's different layers where you start at the highest level. In a live example here, we'll actually educate people on how they can save money when they go shopping at Target. So what kind of coupons are available this week, what kind of discounts are going through. And you might say, okay, so our end goal is to eventually get someone to settle their debt. So how is this related? Well, it is at a very high level. It's someone trying to save money. It's helping them with their finances in a way, and it's a massive value add. So we'll actually run ads starting to here, and then or a video of a public figure, or someone talking about the debt crisis in America or something along that. We'll then bucket people that actually take action. So here it could be spent X amount of time on the site, they click on some links, or they go to multiple pages. If it's a video that we're running directly on Facebook, they saw a certain segment of it, maybe they watched it for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. We'll bucket those people differently, and then we'll start moving them in and see how they interact. So the next call to action might be a lead ad to download I'm just making something up, a debt settlement calculator, how much money you can save. And in that case, those people that got bucketed that don't take interaction with that, we're saying, okay, those people aren't ready for that strong of an offer yet. Maybe next we'll talk to them on how they can save money at Walmart. Again, an example like this versus talking about debt. Now the people that download that, okay, now let's rebucket those people into something where it's an article that specifically explains the settlement process and things like that. So hopefully that example makes sense as far as moving people down. I think of it, and I think it's easy for a lot of business owners or pubs or individuals to think of it as almost like an email, traditional email funneling, where if someone clicks on a link or opens your email, they go to bucket A versus bucket B, and they take different actions. I think when you set up your Facebook campaigns and accounts that same way, that's where you start seeing treating people the right way on what right stage they're at that time, if that makes sense. So ultimately, so the end result for us is something like a how to get out of debt article, or what is consolidation, or what is settlement. And we'll drive them to a form right here. And again, back to Gene's point, the reason we don't ask for a direct call us right now is just the usability of Facebook. When people are using it, what are they doing? Where are they at in their life or their day-to-day that they're reading this article? It's likely not, they're likely not hanging out by their telephone ready to rock. I mean, they're likely on their phone, but as far as ready to have an hour-long conversation to talk about their settlement options, it's a shot in the dark if it's the right timing. So by offering a form like this that people can fill it out, and then they can go through an automated scheduling process and things like that, we're able to get them live on the call when they're ready, if you will. And I guess I'll share some quick stats on that. So we'll serve, let's just say we had 18,000 leads roughly come in. About 6,000 of those are actually going to turn into an inbound phone call, which is great. And then another 4,000 is going to go past the 2-minute buffer. So just to give you an idea of how powerful that is, 1 out of 5 of these form fills turns into an actual billable call. And again, too, there's a lot here you can look at on who's buying the calls to close this rate. But essentially 1 out of 3 turn into an inbound call. That's a form fill, which is massive, with no manpower, by the way. It's all in automated software. And then 1 out of 5 actually turns to a billable. So for us, we're looking at, if we were to just do a click to call, how much does that cost to generate a call? Let's say, I'm just making up numbers here, $25. where form fill, maybe we can get those form fills at $3 each. Now it takes 5 form fills to get through. At the end of the day, our cost per driving an inbound billable phone call is cheaper than if we were just making a phone call to action, if that makes sense. So I rambled a little bit there. Gene or Ann, I don't know if you guys have any specific questions, or I'm going through these questions I got put in here too. I can start just hammering these out if that works too.
Yeah, for sure. There's some good questions in there.
Cool. Yeah, Phil, I think best offer for Facebook, like I mentioned, anything that you can create urgency for, I think is going to be a solid offer there. I saw someone in here, addiction. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it's a lot harder to get in front of the right person because they need to have a specific type of insurance. But what I'd imagine is you maybe target mothers or grandmothers that have kids that are under 26 because they're likely under their parents' insurance. That way they're likely to have a PPO insurance, something along those lines. And you can still start making inferences based on like if the mom has checked out like AA, or I'm just making stuff up, something like that. She may already be on the path, or the education path, to think that her son or daughter is an addict. And again, too, I'm speaking from experience versus going directly after the addicts. But point being, I think it's still possible. It's just a lot more difficult based on the criteria you need to turn into a billable call through an addiction call. So what do I think of Facebook lead ads? I think they're can be powerful, again, in the right segmentation. So if you just got in front of someone and said, hey, call me, fill out this form, and sign up for my service, I don't think they're going to work very much. I think same thing if you said, hey, give me your email and I'll give you $3. I don't think those are going to turn into, or I'm going to give you a $5 gift card for filling out the lead ad form. Those are going to be super low quality. I think when you mix them in a funnel, like I just mentioned, they're really powerful, and I think you can feed those directly even into Drip's system. Also, a lot of it's the messaging on the ad too. What's the call to action? Is it download something? Now you're trying to get them on a call, or is it schedule an appointment right now on Facebook? That's a stronger call to action that might have a higher cost per lead, but ultimately maybe a better conversion rate out the door. I might have missed this. So how does Drips get the customer information from the lead form? I believe it just plugs in through an API, and I think Gene and the guys can probably attest to that a little bit more.
We'll cover that at the end.
That's a Gene question. Anthony S., let's say you do everything correctly on Facebook. How long does it take to build momentum and become profitable? Great question. So short answer and transparent answer, a lot of it for us is how much data you're able to feed Facebook from day one. So if you have either a pixel that gets traffic, where you can leverage that to kind of cut the learning curve versus targeting like Americans, or if you have past customer data. So for us at this point, we run a lookalike to anyone that's called for 10 plus minutes. So we know that anyone who's called for 10 plus minutes is obviously probably a very quality individual. So the more we run lookalikes to those people, the better off we're going to be, if you will. I think I might have lost that question.
We should, Anthony, if you want, we can answer some of these at the end.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And as well, if you want to speak a little louder too, we got kind of an echo.
Sure. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm going to replug in these headphones.
Hey, I was just thinking too, since we have a lot of Palo publishers on here who run traffic, is it possible for them to pull down the caller IDs of their converted traffic and then upload that to Facebook to create lookalike audiences or custom? It'd probably be a lookalike audience, right?
Right. Yeah, you upload it as a custom audience, and I think you guys would know better if you can do that in your dashboard.
Yeah,
for us.
I think we can, right, Anthony? Can we give that kind of power to our pubs?
Well, my name is Tony.
Okay.
Yeah, we can. Those things happen on a case by case basis. So that's something that we would look at with the individual publisher.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think some people were asking about this page in particular.
Dude, love it.
Anthony, and just what happens further into the journey when they hit this page.
Sure. Yeah. So they'll get to this page, and then, like I mentioned, the next offer might be like 5, or the next ad that would show if they click through and they spend some time on this page would be like 5 ways to save money in 2018. So something like that, or 5 ways to help get you out of debt in 2018. And the ones that don't take action on that, they stick with Kohler offers like this, like a Walmart. They'll get served that until they're more warmed up or in a better stage. But those people that'll get like the 5 ways to help get you out of debt, where number 1 talks about don't go to the movies as often. Number 2 is don't eat out. Number 3 is start learning about your settlement or consolidation options. So anyone who's then spent X amount of time on that page will now get an article that talks specifically about how the settlement process works, what it looks like, what you can expect, and then we kind of build up the value of who we are, that we vetted these companies, and fill out a form and you get a free consultation basically. So that's at a 10,000 foot level how the flow works. And again, too, if someone's interacting with one, we'll press the gas harder. When they get to stage 2 or stage 3, if they've kind of stopped that forward momentum, we'll pull back again too. We'll just throttle as far as I'll just call it the severity of the call to action. So versus fill out this form and get in touch, or here's how you can save money on shopping lists on the 2 ends of the spectrum, and then everything in between.
Nice. Okay. Very cool.
Hey, how do you stay? This thing, it sounds like, how do you stay organized in this? It seems you guys kind of have a spreadsheet that builds out all of these what if scenarios for your landing pages like this. How do you stay organized?
Great question. We'll usually whiteboard it out, and then we'll get it into like a system where we've got it mapped through to say like a tree, and I forget what program we use, but it'll tree if this guy does this, like an if-then statement, basically. Okay. That's exactly right. Yeah, no, great question.
Okay, cool. Right on. I love it. Are there any other questions in here regarding funnels? Anybody else got any questions? Do you normally monetize AdSense on your landing pages?
No, great question. So this is a site that we semi-recently acquired. So it's not incredibly mature. I wouldn't, honestly. That's funny you asked that question in all transparency. I wouldn't. This is a site that's going to become more of a this was a deal site initially, and it's going to become more of a financial education site. So it's still mid-transition right now. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I would definitely recommend not having something that's going to drive someone off your page. Yeah, you're right. I agree with that. Cool.
Okay, yeah. So there was a quick question with respect to you guys. How you feel about this, Anthony? You want me to segue into kind of like more of the drip stuff, or does the community have any more questions for Anthony regarding his funnel setup?
Gene, I got a question for Anthony.
Oh.
So essentially, when you drive traffic to these, for let's say Pocket Your Dollars, I'm assuming you're pixeling these individuals and you're retargeting them on Facebook with your brand, like Gene talked about earlier. And if you answered that already, I apologize. I just wanted to vocalize it again.
Yep.
And that's when you're further introducing the drips model, where you're trying to have them take action, correct?
Exactly. Yep. So there's an education process. I mean, for us, very rarely will anybody come in or fill out a form. And I think that's why so many pubs fail on Facebook, is because they make that hard call to action right away, where the person was just looking at what their mom was doing and their best friend was doing on Facebook. And now all of a sudden they're getting an ad that says, call someone to speak to them for an hour about their debt options. It's like, it's not very congruent, so by bringing them through that, exactly like you just said, that funnel, and then retargeting them based on their actions, we're kind of inching them along that customer journey outside of where they might not even feel like it's like I called from Facebook. They might have even forgotten about that because they've gotten entrenched in our funnel of the website, things like that.
Cool.
You cannot ask for marriage on the first date.
Yeah, exactly. That's a takeaway.
Yeah, I tried that with Gene and he walked out. And one more question before we move on. Great question. Your strategy, is it the same with mobile and desktop, or do you strategize differently between mobile and desktop?
Great question. In all transparency, we run, I would say, 98% mobile. And again, too, it's just the nature of we're eventually trying to get someone on the phone. When they fill out that form, just so everybody knows the drip sequencer process, they'll get a call within like 3 seconds. So it's super congruent for them to be on their phone, when they fill out the form, because they'll get a call right away. And I imagine a tremendous amount of people transfer off that direct call.
Mm-hmm.
So we run little to no desktop traffic, and it's just again, I think it totally makes sense by the nature of you're trying to get someone to call in versus getting them on, having to pull out the phone and when they're already on desktop versus they're already on their phone right there.
Very cool. Very cool. That's great. I think it's a smart approach. I agree with that. So Gene, why don't you keep pushing along? We got some more questions in here,
Yep.
but we can answer those at the end as a whole.
Okay, cool. Real quick, Janine, she's recommending boardthing.com for tree diagramming and that logic
Great.
flow stuff. So if anybody's looking for a quick, easy place to, focus on mind mapping and so forth, try those guys out. Boardthing.com. Okay, cool. I'm gonna basically button up this webinar and then we can get back to Q&A. How do I stop sharing this screen? Oh, continue. I'll get over to my page here. So we are back with this guy. Let me jump in here. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so the drip system. The setup's pretty straightforward. What's going to happen, like when you decide to like jump into drips with us, what we're going to do is we're going to start a new project, and then we're going to send you some API tokens. So I think it was GC, somebody GC in the Q&A was asking like, how does the form on the landing page kind of work? Yeah, so you basically you're going to integrate a postback, or not a postback. You're just going to tie API token to a URL, and it's going to post back to the drips campaign. We go through kind of a flow chart of getting this set up. So we send you some tokens, you get the tokens set up. If you need some help, let us know. We can kind of provide some tips for you. But really that burden is on your shoulders to figure the form fill and the token thing. Hire a developer, use Zapier, do whatever you need. We test the API on the back end, making sure everything works. Once we've kind of confirmed that your lead form is communicating with the drips side, then the drips team will go to work. We'll need your landing page because for two things. One, they use your landing page to write a script and come up with a flow that will be used for the SMS messaging and the voice acting. Because I think they actually have a phone call side to this component too. On top of that, there's a little bit of compliance that we gotta just make sure all the right language is on your landing page too. And they'll take a look at that and make sure that is all legit. Once they've kind of got their script and stuff in place and they've been through that process, we'll send it back to you. You'll check it out. You'll be like, yeah, this looks good. I really like it. I like the flow. I like the messaging here. Sounds good. And then the drips team will build out the campaign for you. And then there'll be a little back and forth for the Q&A, quality assurance checks. And once that's kind of backed out, then we go ahead and launch. And then you can start sending leads. And then there's going to be some drips reports we can send you. But most importantly, you can monitor your Palo Invoca for cash flow, get that revenue generating. So it's really not a complicated part on your end other than maybe the API token setup. I think you can use Zapier to patch that back to drips. I think, right, Anthony, you can even run your current CPA offers and then just pipe this data off to the side and get a campaign running with drips too. You can double monetize if you want to. Nobody's saying you can't, but anyway, this is kind of like in a nutshell how it all works. With that being said, again, you're going to get access to Palo, all of our offers, and we've got some Facebook friendly ones on there. Obviously, you get the entire drip system for free, which I think is super killer. You can go sign up for them, pay them, for all their setup costs, and then what it costs to run every acquisition. Anytime you acquire a lead or engage with a lead that costs you money, Palo is going to cover everything for you. And then of course you're going to get the concierge service. You're going to get account managers like myself and Chris Langevin. We're both established Palo publishers. We're also account managers. I don't know who else is doing that in pay-per-call on network side. Usually when you get an account manager, they really don't understand pay-per-call like a publisher does. So I think you get a lot of help there. From just working with us. And then yeah, we're not going to drop the ball. We're just going to make sure everything kind of works all the way from beginning to end. And that way you can focus on what you do best, and that's drive traffic. So I think it's a lot. I think this is a lot that we're offering, and we're doing it, just to get you, interested in running traffic sources that aren't saturated like Google AdWords click to call, where you know how it is. Some of the cost per clicks are exceeding the payouts of some of the offers out there. So this is huge. And with that being said, if you're interested, you feel like you want to get started with us, you can go to palomobile.com/leads and start filling out the application. There's a little bit of caveat here. So there is kind of a bottleneck with the setup process. As you can tell, it's a little bit of a tedious back and forth thing, a lot of hand holding early on in these stages. So, we're really kind of focusing on the lower hanging fruit. So if you're already a Facebook publisher and you want to get started with the call side, we're going to be looking at you first. If you know how to drive traffic in other areas outside of like AdWords search, click to call, we'll be looking at you. But everybody's encouraged to go and apply. Honestly, it's like at one point or another, we'll be reaching out and saying, hey, it's ready. You want to give it a shot, and it'll be your time to shine. So definitely encourage you guys to go fill it out and get started. Please fill it out into its entirety. I'm a little bit of a stickler for applications and having them filled out completely. But with that being said, let's focus on a little Q&A, guys, and then close this up so people can move on with their Fridays. Sound good?
So, Gene, I'll read some questions and I'll delegate them to you guys to see who can answer best.
Yeah, for sure.
We got a lot of questions in here right now. I got one good question. I think this is going to be for Mr. Anthony S. What's your strategy on coming up with copy? So do you have any tips to help publishers decide what to put on their lander, what to put in their Facebook ad, just overall copywriting in general?
Yeah, great question, guys. I think this is going to sound a little funny, but I'm serious. This is when we're writing copy, we'll put ourselves in the user's shoes so much to where we can feel exactly what they're feeling. So, for instance, when we got into the debt space, I was late on my medical bills on purpose. I wanted to see what that process was like. I have my friends call me 20 times a day.
I love this.
Because they get called by debt collection agencies over and over. So I felt what it felt like to not want to pick up my phone, to not want to go check the mail, to not want to tell my friends or family that I'm in debt and I can't afford things. And so that like I almost call it like a method actor. I'm almost like a method actor for copywriting, because I can put myself in those people's shoes so much to the point where I feel what they're feeling. So now I'm not writing, it's going to be great to get out of debt in 2018. I'm going to say, stop the phone calls. I'm going to say, stop. Are you tired of not being able to check your mail? Do you want to be able to turn your phone back on without worrying about getting 3 calls an hour because someone's haggling you down or showing up at your doorsteps? So I know that's more of a concept than specific action items. I'd say to get more action, though, we write, and I actually do write a tremendous amount of our sales copy, and we have sales copywriters too. But it's in my opinion, the number one skill for an internet marketer is, or I'd say hardest skill to find and highest value. It's being able to write to persuade, persuasion copy. So I write to the feelings of people like that. I know what stage they're in. I create urgency on some level, and a believable level. So if I said like this offer ends Tuesday, no, it doesn't. Everybody puts that on their ads. You know what I mean? But if our server space can only hold, 2,000 more people, or 200 more people, and we're filling up by the end of today, maybe obviously that's not. I just can't look that off the top of my head, but something where it's a more believable action. We'll use a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Angles that create action again too. So our copy is segmented per campaign. So if we're running to African Americans versus moms, our copy specifically calls that out. This program's for African Americans in the middle part of the country, or in California African Americans. This program was designed for you. And now they're like, oh, it gets them to stop, kind of interrupt their pattern a little bit, and get them cruising. So I can, if whoever asked that has a follow-up question on that, I'm happy to answer that. But that at a high level, when I'm writing copy, it's super important to know where the person is in their stage, where they're at in their journey, what does the process look like, because that understanding, I think, comes from now speaking in their terms of where they're at versus you're just an internet marketer that's just trying to drive a phone call.
Very cool. I like that, man. So I guess the rule here is ruin your credit to run good offers. I like that.
Being a vertical for the next 50 years, yeah, go ahead, ruin your credit for a little bit.
Yeah. So what I got from that is really immerse yourself in what the user experience would be like. Like,
Yes.
be late on a bill. We're not condoning that, or we're not recommending that, but just put yourself in the shoes of the user, understand their pain points, what they go through, and then take those learning experiences and then turn them into something tangible, which is sales copy. And just for anyone out there who can't write sales copy, there are so many different avenues to get copy. You can just Google it. There's tons of Facebook groups for like cult of copy. There's so many good avenues to get good sales copy. But like Anthony said, if you really want to dominate in this industry, learn how to copyright. It's a huge, huge tool for you to get an advantage over other types of media that's out there. So yeah, don't be cheesy, like Anthony said as well. And yeah. So what's up, Gene?
I was going to say, I mean, that's the first time I've heard of this like experiential learning process for creating a customer avatar. You know, it's like if you ever look at people, you know, and the recommendations for going out and creating a customer avatar, it's all about like doing a bunch of web research, but you never really, especially if you have trouble with copywriting, and I have trouble with copywriting, is never really getting that kind of intuitive, emotional, intangible feeling of like what they're really going through. Like the real pain points aren't resonating because you read about it. You didn't really feel it. And I feel like Anthony S. just like blew my mind with that because he's absolutely right. Like unless you experience it, it's really hard to write it. And then the real gifted copywriters are the ones that can detach from their personal lives and then write by feeling, you know, what that consumer is feeling. And this is, I think, one smart way of doing that. And now again, like you don't have to go broke to feel it, but again, have your friends call you 20 times a day until you get pissed off and you can't deal with it anymore. Maybe kind of live on a shoestring budget for a week or two, just to kind of feel what it's like to be broke. Because I know a lot of us in this industry make pretty decent money. So trying to write for a broke person to me, it'd be kind of hard because I just haven't felt that very long time. So some super good points, man. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yep. Yeah. So we got a lot more questions in here. Hold on. Let's see. So you know what, Gene, I'm going to throw this question at you because you did touch on it a little bit in the in one of the slides. In your opinion, what does a good page look like and what does a bad page look like for, let's say, Facebook or even a landing page?
Yeah, I can't really speak too much on the landing page side of things, but again, and I can only approach this from a consumer level perspective, like a guy who visits Facebook, right? It's like I can tell real quick when I want to interact with somebody and when I don't want to interact with somebody. And I think as marketing people, especially if you're kind of a solopreneur, you know, you're kind of a lone wolf, you tend to get things up fast and then deal with the consequences later. And it doesn't work very well on Facebook because when you put things up fast, you end up with a page that looks amateur. You look like a marketer. You look like a fly-by-night marketer who's really doing nothing but trying to generate an extra $1 or $2 a day. And I think Facebook catches that too, and that's why a lot of people get their accounts banned and they're like puzzled. They're like, I don't understand why Facebook banned my account. But if you look at guys that are doing it right, like Anthony Sarandrea, for example, they're adding value. They're out there trying to help people. You can see with the coupon site that blew my mind too. Like how can a coupon site end up converting on debt relief? I would have never even thought about that until seeing it. And I'm like, now it makes sense to me. But you see how they're adding value at the top of the funnel. They're not asking for anything. They're just like, here's how to save money at Target. Here's how to get help. So I think the big thing is you just got to actually put yourself out there and add value to the world as opposed to taking it away. And marketing people do a really good job at taking away value as opposed to adding it. And the really good marketing people, they're outward focused. They're looking at adding value. How can I help this human being get what they need? How can I have a conversation with them and help them? And eventually it'll take care of itself. So when you're building out pages, you got to build out pages that they look authentic. They look like you're building a brand. And I mentioned this, I don't think I mentioned on this webinar, but the way I look at pages on Facebook now is, and especially when you think about like having a drips kind of system on the back end, which to me is like having your own little automated warm transferring call center. I go, okay, I got a lot of tech on the back end here. Why would I interface that highly sophisticated, amazing technology with a shitty fly-by-night marketing Facebook page? No, it's like, it's the other way around. It should be like, this is my brand. I mean, in fact, I'm going to go as far as to like incorporate it, create a real business. And my job is to help people solve their debt problems. And then they're going to connect with my call center, which is the drip system, and we're going to help them. And when you get your head wrapped around that, you start to become a real business and you're not a fly-by-night marketer. So I think my recommendation is just like slow down. Realize that you're in this for the long haul. This is a business. This isn't like, hey, this campaign's going to last 2 days and then we're going to burn it up and throw it away. It's like, no, you're going to be doing this for the next 5-10 years. You're going to build out something that you can sell for millions and millions of dollars someday. And if you take that long-term approach, you're going to have a much higher success, in my opinion.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks, Gene. Awesome, dude. I'm going to do one more question for Anthony, and then just kind of touch on a little bit about what the tech side of things look like, and then where you guys can rewatch this webinar. So Anthony, and if you could just speak up a little bit, a couple people said that they couldn't hear you. Do you have any tips on how to begin researching the audience you're going to market to on Facebook or even native? Really just where are you starting when it comes to audience research?
It's a great question. I start with acting like I'm the customer, I'd say. So for instance, if I was going to run an addiction offer, I would call into an addiction number, see what questions they asked me, what flow I went through to get in there. So I'm looking at like I'd search maybe like addiction rehab on a Google. I'd look at the site. I'd see what are the kind of messaging. I might open up every single website in different tabs and look at if there's any congruency in messaging, anything I like, and I start putting together a Word document of, okay, I liked this, I liked that. If I was an addict, I'll start to discover things throughout that process, like the fact that you need to have XYZ type of insurance. I might hear them talking about if you are a loved one, okay, why are they talking about loved ones? And I kind of just dig deep into every single messaging that's out there. Oh, maybe they're targeting moms, maybe they're targeting grandmas, maybe they're targeting dads. Why would they do that? Oh, it's because the kids are still under their insurance. So through that kind of digging process, and then I'll call in, like I said, and they'll ask me questions, and I'll pretend like I'll do my best. And at first, I'm probably pretty bad at it. Like, oh, what are you addicted to? I'm like, things, so at first, I'm probably not the greatest customer, you know what I mean, or fake customer, I should say. But after you do it a few times, I'll start asking, like, why are they asking me if I'm willing to fly across the country? And I might ask that question. I might say, what, is it important that I fly to New York? And we usually see better success rates when someone, is out of their normal, their pattern, instead of being at home and going to a addiction, rehab center down the road. When they're in New York out of their thing, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So now I'm starting to, now I might need to write to the fact that I might need to answer that reservation in my writing or my target research. So anyway, at a high level, I dig through to see what the competition's doing. I see what they're doing well. I see what they're doing poorly. I'm making notes along the way. And that's usually what I'm discovering and learning. I'm doing an immense amount of research. And then, like I said, if it's possible, I wouldn't recommend start becoming a drug addict if you like what it is to me. Right.
Totally.
But you know what I mean? But I mean, even then, I might go beg my mom for money and then beg more and then more and then more and then more. And because, drug users might do that, or I might stay up till 5 a.m. and not sleep, or stuff like that. And again, too, I'm being super dramatic with all that, but I hope it still gets the principle back down to really put yourself in the shoes of the market, the audience you're going to be speaking to. You need to live, sleep, eat, and breathe what they're doing. So anyway, that's where I start off in the process, and then it usually tailwinds into me having conversations with industry friends that run addiction centers, and can I listen to some of their calls? Can I sit in on an initial meeting, things like that. And you don't even need to have friends. You can hit up people on LinkedIn and be like, hey man, I saw you run an addiction center. I'm just super interested. I'm a college student. You can just make some stuff up, and can I sit in on the next interview that you do for an addict? Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
So.
That's good stuff. So just kind of like with the sales copy, immerse yourself more, and then really build out what an audience would look like in terms of data for Facebook or AdWords or native, and then make that tangible. And that audience is definitely going to evolve as you go and you market to these individuals. So awesome. Great answer, man. So Gene, I'm just going to touch on a little bit the tech side, unless you have anything else you want to.
I was going to say another pretty useful ninja trick, like especially if you're focusing on Facebook, would be use your spy tools. You don't have, I don't know what they have for Facebook spy tools, but you could use things like SEMrush. You could use SpyFu and look at what's working in the search space, since most of these pay-per-call offers are really kind of geared towards search, because that's kind of in the nature of the beast. That's what's worked best forever. And then you roll out to Facebook and you find those pages from those authority marketers in the search side. And if you want to take it even a step further, go create yourself a new Facebook profile that's going to represent the avatar of the person that will be potentially be potentially a consumer of your lead or your product or service, whatever you're offering, and then start liking those pages. And then after a while, you're going to start seeing Facebook ads hitting your page, and then you have basically you just basically have your own spy tool. So use the spy tools, find the authorities, go out, like their pages with a new profile, and just wait, and you'll start to see that stuff kind of percolate through your newsfeed on Facebook, and then you can start spying on them.
Totally. Yeah, no, for sure. That's there's software out there that's going to help you out with a lot of the heavy lifting. So lean on that.
Use it.
So a lot of people are asking about the tech side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially for things like drip setup and how to post back sales and conversions, we'll go over all of that with you as we onboard people, because there's really easy ways to just send out a webhook to back to Facebook or even into drips from Invoca to really just share the information full circle, so you can optimize your campaigns and scale. And then everything happens within that pipeline that Gene showed, because one big piece too, and Brian mentioned this in the questions, is being compliant. It's very, very, very important here. That's one thing that is really just superior to a lot of the steps. Is if you're not TCPA compliant with this, you're going to get yourself into a whole lot of trouble. And so we're going to help guide you through the compliance process to make sure you are compliant, you're using the right language. So a lot of the questions you guys are posting right now about postbacks, tech setup, forms, compliance, we're going to help you with that through the entire pipeline. Yeah. So guys, this webinar will be replayed on the Facebook, the Palo Facebook page. And as you can see on Gene's screen, go over to the website, palomobile.com/leads, fill out the application. We're going to get to as many people as we can and ensure that we can scale this process with them. When this webinar ends, you're also going to get redirected to that form. Make sure you like our Facebook page though for all these updates. And I think other than that, I think we're good. So Gene, if there's nothing else, my friend, I really appreciate you taking the time. Anthony, always a pleasure chatting, my friend. Really, really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course, guys.
Yeah, and everyone that attended, thank you so much for attending. We hope you guys got a lot of good value out of this, and we're looking to see you on some offers very soon. So that is it, my friends.
Right on.
Yeah, they brought it on a Fiverr for like $6. Wise guys.